In the last video, we put together a dashboard featuring a combo chart of our service level versus items shipped. In this video, we'll be creating a positional circle chart to help us understand the breakdown of our current unshipped orders. Now, this type of chart is constructed similarly to a scatter plot, but the purpose is decidedly different. In a scatter plot, we're generally looking to show patterns and relationships between two dimensions. But here, we're just using that format to help us quickly get a feel for the state of our unshipped orders queue, relying heavily on our reference bands for context. To make this chart in our workbook, first let's create a new sheet. Then we'll create a calculated field called Days Since Order to make our x-axis. This will simply be today's date minus order date. And hit OK. We'll drag that field out to our column shelf and add Not Shipped Yet to our filters. We want to only show the unshipped orders. Then we'll drag Order Priority to Rows, followed by Order Quantity. So now we have one dot in each pane, but we want to break that out to the row level. So let's drag Row ID to the Detail button. Now we have one circle for each row in our database. Now let's change the mark type to circle. Then we'll change the color to black with 60% transparency. If you'd like, you can also reverse the axis by right-clicking on it, clicking Edit Axis, and hit Reversed, so that the circles enter the chart on the right and fade to the left. So now the chart's showing basically what we want. We just need to add the colored reference bands for context, so we can quickly see orders within and outside service level. Start by dragging Ship Deadline onto the detail box. Then we'll right-click on the axis and say Add a Reference Line. We'll select Band and Per Pane since we want it to vary by priority level. The From value should be the average of Ship Deadline, since we want it to be green out to the target. Let's set the label to None, and then we'll make the To value a constant at -0.5, which will make it green a little bit to the right of the 0 line to account for the overlap. Also with no label. For the line we want none. For the fill we want a light green. Hit Apply. So far so good. Let's hit OK. For the yellow section, we need to create another calculated field, which will create a one-day band between the green and the red. Let's create a calculated field. Let's call it Ship Deadline Yellow. And this will just be Ship Deadline plus 1. Now we'll add another reference line. Well, again, we want band per pane. The value from, we want it to be sum of ship deadline, but we want it to be average. And the label to set to none. And the To band, I forgot to add this to our marks card. So let's go ahead and hit OK. Let's drag over our Ship Deadline Yellow to the detail. So now it's in our marks card, which means we can use it for a reference line. We'll right-click, edit the reference line. We'll edit this one we were just working on. We'll replace the band To with sum of ship deadline yellow, average, with no label, and the fill we want to be yellow, and hit Apply. Nice yellow boundary there. Finally, to create the red band, we need a calculated field that will return the oldest unshipped order. So we just take the max days of since order and add 0.05, just like we did for the green. to make sure we can encapsulate the outer circles. So we'll right click, create calculated field, and we'll say max days since order plus 0.5. Let's actually give that a name. Instead of calling it calculation 1, let's call it ship deadline red. And hit OK. So let's add it to marks card under detail. And right click, add reference line. And we want band, but this time we want to do entire table. So that way we can have the red extend all the way out to the left-hand side, even when on a pane level, it may not. The oldest order may be all the way on the right. So we'll go entire table from the band from, we'll say ship deadline red with the maximum, no label. The band 2 can just be 0. So let's set it to a constant at 0 with no label. And we'll make red fill and hit apply. So now our left boundary is set up correctly, but it's overlapping our other reference lines. So let's hit OK and select it by clicking on an edge. The left edge is probably the easiest to get to. Then right click and move to back. Pretty slick. One last touch to make the distinction clearer between the priority levels. Let's right click on the rows header and click Format. Go to Format Borders and change the row divider to something a little darker, maybe up the thickness. We can also rearrange the priorities to make more sense. So if we drag medium in between high and low, we've got our most important orders up top. So now we have a great picture at a glance of our orders that have not yet been shipped. Let's go ahead and drop this on a new dashboard. I'll set it to exactly 1050 by 580 and then drag out our positional circle chart. I'll just give this a name real quick. Looks very good. This is one of the more intricate charts we'll make in the course, so let's summarize what we've accomplished. The visualization of a fulfillment center's priority could be a powerful tool for improving on-time shipments. And paired with real-time data, this viz alone can give operational team an at-a-glance view to manage their workflow. Time in days since order on the x-axis quickly shows us for each priority level which orders remain to be shipped. For each priority level, perhaps the least useful element on the graph is the order quantity, plotted on the y-axis. You could perhaps provide an additional level of information by color coding or shape coding the circles, maybe by backorder status or location in the warehouse. So to summarize, positional circle plots are a variation of a scatter plot, where the individual points are more important than groups, patterns, or correlations formed. The layering or arrangement of reference lines is key to this viz. In the next video, we'll introduce URL actions to drive interactivity with websites using URL parameters.